Okay, what's up, everybody? We are going to be talking about my predictions for who's gonna flip and do what this year. Um, we've already witnessed, obviously, Jaren, who he was the first to push no 24-hour sun in Antarctica and do tons of live streams on it back in 2016, I believe, and 17. And so of course he would be the sky flipper, So pretty much what our prediction is that anyone who's been pushing any of the big channels that push a certain narrative is going to flip on that narrative this year. So Austin, Melodome, or whatever already saw sunspots. I think that may have been even before Jaren that he flipped. Um, Jaren's a sky flipper, Weiss simulation, he's been pushing his app forever, so of course it would make sense that he's now simulation, and who knows what else. Dell, definitely seems like his centrifuge that he keeps talking about is gonna eventually flip. He went from no movement, being stationary for a long time, to now there's movement, to now it's a centrifuge movement, and which does set the stage for a possible concave model, which to me is like the next logical step for him, and that's who we're going to be focusing this mostly on, is him and William and their misunderstandings of what a centrifuge would actually look like in their drawings and whatnot. Witsit, I think, will flip to concave or ball. Definitely already geocentric, even though he's trying to change the definition of geocentric, and it's been for the past decade, it's a geocentric ball. But he claims that we don't know what geocentric, the definition of it is, and it's Earth-centered. And while I agree with that, in this arena, it has always been that geocentric is a ball. So whether it's a concave ball in his mind, or a regular, globe model, there's a clip of him saying, I'll post it as a short after this, of him somebody saying, "Oh, well, geocentric is a ball," and then Witsit responds with, "Yeah, but it doesn't move." So even though he claims that we just don't know what it means, he's clearly trying to change definitions of words, like all the Globers like to do. So having that is like a smoking gun that he finally does admit that geocentric does mean ball. Oakley will probably find curvature somewhere because he's been pushing flat for so long. And that's just, my prediction. Obviously, he hasn't done that yet. Sergeant will probably have a military agent will come on and see curvature in the field, and he'll believe it and be like, "Well, I believe what the military guy says, because he's out there." And then space audits, maybe matter actually does shrink and contract, and space time does bend and warp. Um,
Right.
have I left anybody out, or is there anything you want to add to our predictions?
No, that was perfect. I think you're spot on. I agree with those predictions, 100%.
Okay, cool. And so, yeah, we'll start from the beginning of this and break down what's actually being said here with these people.
Better not draw a square. I better draw a triangle this time, just so that they don't get stuck on the square part. Right? What's your Earth moving through? Well, I hate to break it to these people, right? But see, in order for any three-dimensional matter to exist, it needs three-dimensional space to exist in, right? So regardless of whether we're in, a motion that's tethered like, something like that, or better put a triangle on it just for the dumb fucks, whether we're on something that's tethered that's moving like that, or it's moving in some other fashion. There's a space outside of it because
You notice I just saw right here, oh, it's blurred now, but there was arrows that he pushed going down on this, so we know that this is the platform, or vice
That
versa, the upward is going this way, right? Like, here, let me try and
right.
play it again.
matter, solidity requires.
There, it's kind of easier to see now, but
Yeah.
it looked like an arrow pointing down, so that's where point is. Sorry, I know we were.
Right. So that would be the Earth on that plane.
Mm-hmm.
This, yeah, perpendicular to the what a vector would be on a centrifuge. The vector would be towards the pivot point, and he's showing it spinning around that way. Okay. The force would you'd be falling off the side if you were standing that way.
Yeah, so technically, if the force, the arrow's going this way, the pivot point would be up here then. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so that's, I don't know if you can see my little thing, but we'll
Yeah, I
keep
see your
going.
mouse.
Yeah, I I have a drawing that I drew right after this showing how it actually would be if it were true. I don't agree with him that it's a centrifuge or whatever, but it'll show you. Hold up.
There's 3 dimensions to occupy. Okay? So it's the same with any Earth. Let's take a station.
So here's the one I drew where this is the way that it would, otherwise you would have the people all running
of
into
that.
each other,
So person A
going sideways. And like you
Right.
see how his is drawn this way, this person B would fall into A and would either go sideways or backwards or whatever way that they're standing would go up against this wall here. So I don't think they're really grasping what they're talking about.
Right. It's kind of weird though, also because um, they act like the Earth is moving up at a constant velocity for so long. That's what they've been pushing, been pushing, been pushing. There's no way it could be accelerating, except that all the effects we see show that it has to be accelerating. And so now they're switching back to basically an effect of an acceleration with a centrifuge. So they're conceding that it has to be, an acceleration versus a constant velocity, that they have to experience an acceleration. And now that's why they're flipping to this. And obviously they don't even have this right.
Yeah, and in either thing there would have to be a force. So
Right.
um yeah, we'll keep listening.
holding the accelerometer, again, it's going to be making a slightly bigger circle than person B. And then if we go to another person over here, person C, that's even going to show slightly slower than B. And B is going to be slightly slower than A. So this is the gravitational gradient that they're talking about, that we just read. This is the gravitational gradient, but we understand gravity is not a pulling force. It's not this magical force that magically makes accelerometers measure slight differences for whatever reason. It doesn't even make any sense from a globe Earth. The fact is, the accelerometers measure that slight difference because, again, and a person holding an accelerometer, for example, on A, that person, when the Earth is moving up, in a circle, person A holding an accelerometer is gonna be slightly faster than person B, and person B is gonna be slightly faster than person C. And again, that is the reason why accelerometers will measure a slight difference on different locations on Earth, is because the Earth is not moving in a straight line.
See, here would have been a good point where he would bring in maybe some maps and like, something to show, okay, in this state or this country, accelerometer reads this, and in this one it reads this, and compare like where they're at, like maybe the closer to the north you get, they're less, or the closer to the south, the acceleration is more. Like like if he backed this up with something that like corroborated it with like actual maps, then it would make a little bit more sense. But I've also heard him say before that he doesn't believe there's any accurate maps, so maybe not. I don't know. I just feel like
Right.
it's, he needs to corroborate something.
Right. Never mind the fact that, you know, where the direction that people are standing is perpendicular to where the force would be
Yeah.
on a centrifuge. Aside from that, yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't believe in any maps, which whatever I agree with. I can't agree with whatever. I don't know what the layout is of the land, but he's invoking accelerometers in certain places to say what's moving faster, and he does seem to insinuate it as like a speed instead of an acceleration, which accelerometers aren't going to detect speed; they'll detect a change in rate. But so that being aside, like he has no evidence for this. He has people saying that accelerometers read different in different places. Maybe he has done research and seen where these places are and where exactly they show, but he's not. He doesn't show it here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'll keep
Now,
going.
if the Earth was moving in a straight line, up, then all these accelerometers will measure the exact same. There wouldn't be that
I feel like that wouldn't necessarily be true either. Like maybe, and that's why it would be important to research where the differences are in the different accelerometer readings. Like maybe one's at the top of a mountain, maybe one's in a valley somewhere. Like, you know, I don't know. I mean that's where you figure out like if like it's something that now I want to go look into after watching this. I'm like, I wonder where all of like we should map it out and see what the differences are, if there's elevation differences, if there's, like what it
Right.
is, and try to,
There's got to yeah, try to figure it out that way. Sorry, but there's got to be some correlation. Like he's got to say, like you have to be able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Like elevation changes for sure will cause differences in readings, and for him just to make a blanket statement that all these changes are because that they're moving at a different rate or a different speed in these different places, then he's got to show some correlation to that.
yeah, and he even says it's a fact at some point too, and I'm like, whoa, we're jumping to facts now. Okay. We'll see, but yeah, we'll keep going.
That slight difference. And again, that slight difference is so minute that it's not even accounted for. It's basically negligible, but it is there. It is
It's basically negligible, but it's there. Oh man.
measurable, just like the high tide and the low tide. They show that there is a reorientation or a deviation
Oh, right,
from
into
the
the tides. Like he's correlating it to tides. Like
Yeah,
it's the same thing with them. Like are these accelerometer points exactly where the tides are different?
yeah. Can
Readings.
you
So like
Where's his tides videos and his stuff talking about tides and showing what he thinks about tides and why it's a fact about tides? Like you can't just say this stuff without like backing it up, you know?
from the
Sorry, were you done? Was there anything else you wanted to add to
no,
that?
no, you're good. No, go
Okay.
ahead.
from the vertical. It's not a perfectly straight line. And water shows us that. Accelerometer shows us that. The fact is the Earth is not moving in a straight line. So when people say that, oh, the Earth will have to be moving through infinite space in a straight line, that's already a straw man. Because my position is based on practical physics is that the Earth is not moving in a straight line. Accelerometers show that, and water shows us that.
So we can go off of an accelerometer when it's on an object in free fall, but not but accelerometers don't work when it's just on the ground.
Right. Accelerometers read constant velocity on the ground now, I guess.
Yeah. Once again, we need a Dell's uh consterometer. No, what is it called?
Constant velocinometer.
Yeah.
So the Earth is
Yeah,
a part of a
accelerometers
cycle.
read acceleration any other direction you point them. Like when you accelerate them, you can detect acceleration. But whenever they're sitting on the ground showing acceleration, that doesn't mean acceleration. That means constant velocity.
Yep, doesn't count.
Doesn't count
Debunked.
then. Yep.
So when people say, that the Bible says that the Bible says that it's fixed, in its foundations, then yeah, the Earth is fixed. It's fixed in its foundation of being in a cycle. If you cannot take it off from that cycle, it's just it is what it is. It's part of the cycle. And yeah, and it's not in moving in a straight line. That's the fact. So again, I just wanted to go over that for people that have that idea that or that like to strawman that the Earth is moving in a straight line. The fact is, again, practical physics shows that the Earth is not moving in a straight line. And again, that deviation from the perfectly straight line, that it's so minute that it's not really accounted for when it comes to practical applications, but it is there. Physics shows that again, the Earth is not moving in a perfectly straight line.
There's a wee fucking roller
A
coaster moving.
fact. It's a fact that we're
It's a
not moving in a
fact.
straight line. Gotcha.
But it's practical physics, but your practical physics doesn't count, apparently.
Right.
Through the roller coaster, right? Guess what? See that track? It's immovable from its path, right? The roller coaster's immovable from its path, right? Just like the Earth.
It sounds sorry. It sounds like all those newscasters videos where they're all saying the exact same thing. It's like you go to Dell's channel and it's moving. It's in a path. It does not deviate from its path.
Right?
And then you get William doing the same thing. It's like it sounds like it just reminds me of those videos.
No, it totally does. I had the same observation about a lot of the bigger truther channels whenever like that's why I made my East Palestine videos because I'm like, what is going on? Like even a channel that I used to respect years ago, True Stream Media, put out a video talking about East Palestine and literally showing all of the clips from the news while they were saying, and news isn't covering this at all. I'm like, well, where did you get all these news clips then? If the news isn't showing it, you know? And like everything that they were observing was all like the same fear porn that turned out to be total bullshit. Um, I don't mean to bring up other topics again in this or whatever, but I noticed that the same thing with the truthers channels. They were all repeating word for word the same narratives, and they weren't looking into other narratives. Like back in the day, there was, if it was grassroots, all of the truther channels like would cover different things. They would all have different opinions on it, and some of them overlapped in some ways, but like it just seems like there's not um it just seems very like all the same. Same. Everyone's saying the same thing. No one has a different opinion, no one's looking into different things, and it's very suspect to me and it seems very staged and like these people are paid or something. I don't really understand why they would all, like, it's not realistic that everyone would have the same opinion. That doesn't ever happen in like real grassroots movements.
Right.
In some system like that, and this was our Earth, right? And it was doing this. It's immovable from its path, right? It can't veer off of its path. It doesn't mean that it's no moving because it says immovable.
Once again, he has the drawing wrong. It's like they don't understand where the force is coming from and where the people would be standing. It's
But
retarded.
that's what I wanted to mean because it makes me feel so safe and secure and stuff. She's
So yeah, this is actually how it would be. And
Yeah,
it's
if we're held to the ground, then and the vector would be upward. It would have to look something like this, and which definitely, depending on the size and the size of the rotation and the path it's on, uh, the water would have to start bending at some point, which
right.
brings in the whole concave thing. In my
That
opinion, that's why they're pushing. You're going to end up pushing towards.
Yeah, that's the next logical step. And sorry for the graininess of the picture. I'm not very good at making memes, but I'm trying. Um, and then from the movie, whatever, Space Odyssey.
2001: Space
pictures
Odyssey.
Yeah, there you go.
and astronauts and the sun and the stars and stuffs. No. You don't get to jump to an intangible phenomena and conceptual gibberish.
How is this not intangible gibberish and everything what he's drawn on pieces of paper too? Like, I don't know, man. It just seems like he doesn't know how to take his own advice.
Yeah.
You don't skip past fucking direct real physics in order for you to maintain your worldview. All you're doing is
Once again, direct real physics is drawing on a whiteboard.
showing us who you actually are. Pseudoscientists, cult members, pushers of nonsense, trying to get your children to believe in utter crap so that they can maintain the worldview that they benefit from monetarily. Making revenue in all different aspects and different avenues, right? Keeping a worldview going so they can milk it. Simple physics cannot be broken. All that can happen is that you can have your perceptions warped. You can have an incredulous view of physics. You can
Just
make
like
believe.
accelerometers.
Right? And just like your test. And if anybody out there has, the last time we spoke with Dell, he said that he has he's done pulley tests. When I brought up that Jason's test was far more mechanically inclined, like it had more going on. It wasn't just like, oh, not to talk shit on his water bottle stuff. I know I did during that talk. I was like, all you got is water bottles. But that's really all I've seen is like flames and water bottles, and it's good, like it does show, but like let's bring it up a notch, let's take it to the next level. And he said, oh, I have done pulley tests, and I was like, okay, can you send it to me? I'll play it, and I still have yet to find any pulley tests that he's done or anything even close to what Jason's done. So if anybody out there knows what he's talking about, please send it my way.
Right. And
Evil.
it's the water bottles are great because they definitely show acceleration, except for, they show that there's no acceleration in free fall. They show whenever you do accelerate it, they show the effects of what acceleration does. But whenever those effects are shown when it's sitting on the ground, oh no, that's not acceleration.
Yeah,
No,
it doesn't count.
you can just ignore that. That's just constant velocity in that case. A little less special pleading to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
All you like. The reality is real world physics is demonstrating for you what's actually going on. Okay? The very fact that we can observe air rising the direction shows us that the force is acting in that direction. Objective discussion, but we have so many camps of people with bias who want to defend the bias. They want to bastardize practical.
And I mean, camps, like he talks about camps, there's so many different camps. Like that means that it's grassroots. That means that it's real. When there's different camps and different, like I just said about all the different the mainstream truther channels pushing the same exact videos, like that doesn't happen in real world shit. Like you're gonna have nobody's gonna agree on everything. You're gonna have different groups of people that some are religious, some aren't, some are, into more physical demonstrations, and it's the camps means that if everybody just agreed with him, like that's scary to me. You know, like what's going on here?
Right.
Physics. They want to invert practical physics. They want to twist it and assert with rhetoric over the top of practicality. A simple accelerometer, we can all observe what happens when a force is acting in a particular direction. Every single one of us can observe that. These people come along and try and superimpose rhetoric over the top of that negates it. Not only that, inverts it. And I mean, I can't deal with that sort of reasoning. I just
Wait, who's inverting
my
stuff?
mind just
Right? This seems like he's the one actually inverting things, and yeah.
goes numb.
Right. Man, I can't stop going back to the accelerometer. Like he completely inverts the like he said, basic real world physics, accelerometers, analog accelerometers, a basic water bottle shows us exactly what's going on, except for when you set it on the ground. Then it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Man, I can't. Sorry, I keep reiterating it, but it's
No,
like the
there's
base premise. It's the base premise of the whole argument, and he just skips over it.
yeah. Totally. No, and I think this would be a good point to bring up what you said to me the other day about showing like a call to action for him to show a container, like since he likes containers so much, like this should be a very easy demonstration for him if it's true about showing the container moving at any constant. What was that again that you told me? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I just want him to show me any container, moving at a constant velocity through any medium, doesn't matter what medium, to show and and make the matter inside the container be pushed against the wall against the force of against the direction of force. So basically, just take a container with different states of matter in it, just like he does with the water bottles. Move it at a constant velocity, and show me where the matter is pushed against the direction of motion at a constant velocity. If he can show me that, then maybe he's got something. But I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to say, "Well, when it's sitting on the ground," but that's begging the question. Like you're saying that the Earth is moving up at a constant velocity, and the water is on the bottom because it's going at a constant velocity. But any other scenario, the water gets forced against the direction of acceleration, not the distant or the difference in motion, the difference in the different direction of acceleration. So that's where the begging the question is, that they're saying on the ground it works in one way, any other place it works a different way. So if you want to reword that and say it like more coherent, I know I'm kind of stuttering a little bit, but
No, no, you're good. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like what you said the other day, it sounded I think that's a very reasonable thing to ask. I'm not asking him to get any pulleys or to buy a step motor or any of the things that you've done. Like, he doesn't even need to do all that. He just needs to prove
Yeah,
what
show
he's.
right, show a a container at a constant velocity. And I know what he'll say is, okay, he'll try to go back to his example of in a something moving at 1 miles per hour upward, in that it separates from the surface. But I'll be like, is it that exactly goes against his like free fall demonstrations, where free fall is a visual interpretation of downward acceleration. It's visual. It's the ground coming to the object, or the object going to the ground at an accelerated rate. That's just visual. But the forces don't show that. The forces show that the force is on the ground. Well, that's the same thing with something moving up at 1 mile per hour from the Earth. That's just a visual. All he can show that is distance over time. He cannot show the forces acting that way, where a force not being detected, because forces are not detected on anything moving at a constant velocity. You cannot detect any net forces, period. So if he can, because what he'll do is he'll show something moving up at 1 mile per hour, that in a visual interpretation of it, but the force will still be showing that it's accelerating, because if you add a constant velocity on top of an acceleration, it's still an acceleration.
Yep, exactly. He might try and show us with more pictures, but like, pictures aren't physics, like
No,
drawing
show me that.
boards.
Yeah,
Yeah, show us
exactly.
the demonstrations, since you're all about the demonstrations. Like, that's the language we speak. So sorry, I had to add that in there. And what else? Let's see. Okay, we already saw that. And then
So we have a
Delver.
circle.
Sorry.
We'll call this circle A. And then we have a smaller circle.
I think this was before
We'll call
the
this
other
circle
one.
B.
Oh
So
yeah,
we have circle A, which is a bigger
Kind of
circle than circle
reiterating
B. If we
whatever
have
right.
a
we.
Just
car,
how fast
I'll just
something
draw
is
a
going
square to
in
represent the
relation,
car.
to a circle, and
Again,
completely
in order for
against
these cars
what
to
they're trying
complete
to
the
push with the
circle,
centrifuge, where the forces would be.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, they're-
Yeah,
that's
B
just
would
a
knock
trap.
into A.
Right,
Like,
right.
B wouldn't be going on the same track. B would be pushed into A and smushed into, like, yeah, no.
at the
Yeah, if
same
there's an edge or a wall on that side, they'd just be pushed off.
time,
Exactly.
circle A, in other words, car on circle A is gonna be having to travel faster than circle B, than the car in circle B. That's a fact. He's having to cover more distance, and in order for them to do a complete circle and complete the circle at the same time, the car on circle A is gonna have to be traveling faster than circle B. That's a fact. If you deny this, then you're an idiot. Again, this is simple facts. This is reality. Again, in order for both of these cars to complete a
Once again, here's the picture that I drew of how their model should be working.
That they have an artificial gravity laboratory.
Artificial gravity facility sounds like something out of science fiction.
And the funny thing is, this is from Dell from 2 years ago, by the way.
Now remember, what you've been told about gravity is that it's a pulling force. Now we've established there's no such thing as pulling forces. Right? They're telling you that at the centre of a mass there's some magical place where space-time gets warped and bent into an invisible magical place at the centre of masses. Right? So, now we're going to go into what they're calling artificial gravity. And lo and behold, what are they going to use to try and create gravity? Now remember, gravity is the observation of the natural phenomena of objects falling, and in particular that they have a directional vector, which is straight down. Okay? Now, as I say, were you ever taught that motion was the cause? No. You were told all this gibberish about mass attracting mass and Einsteinian warping and bending of space-time. Gibberish. Right? Fantasy bollocks. Star Wars nonsense. Now in the actual real world, what we're going to see here is how to create a directional vector. Right? We're going to have to incorporate motion.
But it's not, and there's very much a reason why I'm keeping my head straight and forward at the moment. This is the artificial gravity facility, otherwise known as the rotating room. So,
See, the artificial gravitating room. Right? So again, physically, demonstrably, what are they utilising? Remember all this? Oh, don't be ridiculous. The Earth's no moving. No. That's.
Sorry, I was muted. I had to add that in there.
This can be inverted in any direction, any directional vector, 360 degrees, three-dimensionally. So if William here was to now angle that cat up at 45 degrees and start accelerating it through the air at 45 degrees, you're going to get a straight line vector that's going to be witnessed and shown by the motion of the air bubble. That being that the air bubble is now going to move diagonally in that direction. Showing you the buoyant effect, the buoyant force, showing you the direction of acceleration.
Oh, direction of acceleration.
45 degrees.
The air goes in the direction of acceleration. I agree.
Right? Agreed.
In that direction, the air bubble is going to correlate to that motion vector. If he wants to do it down the way at 45 degrees, the air bubble is going to correlate and go at a 45 degree downward angle towards the direction of acceleration.
Pushed in the direction of acceleration 100% of.
This is the bare facts. This is detection of acceleration. So any human being, any being for that matter, claiming acceleration, it must be witnessed. The reason all this is relevant is because we're talking about displacement. Displacement, that being that it's relative in regards to states of matter and the relationships between each other when force is applied to them. This is what we're talking about with displacement. This is how we detect acceleration.
Breathe. Knees in more, less air out. Breathe. Push out with the abs. Good. Breathe. Hold it. Breathe. Relax the neck, relax the face. Breathe. Get that air back in.
halfway.
Breathe. Halfway there.
This is what we need to do with Dell if we ever get to talk to him again. Just breathe. Just breathe. Deep breath.
Right.
Breathe normal.
Bends
Where are you
in air,
from?
so depending on the direction of the force pushing on the air, that will also determine what direction the flames get pushed. For example, when I have a flame in a container with air surrounding it, as soon as I apply a force to the right, there's a greater compression of air to the left that is then able to push anything that's less dense, like the flame, in the same direction as the force. When I apply a force to the left, the greater compression of air to the right is then able to push the flame to the left. This can be demonstrated and repeated 100% of the time. The flame will always get pushed in the same direction as the force. When I actually apply a force down, we can see the greater compression of air switch to the top of the container, pushing the flame down, showing that there is a force present. However, when I release the container into freefall, there is no compression of air in the.
Okay, see right there how that ball of how it like turns, he said it turns into like a sphere. That's how it
Right.
would, that's how flames would look if it was a constant moving up.
Velocity. Right. If
Yeah.
it was a constant velocity, there would be no net forces, not forcing the flame in any direction.
Exactly.
Container.
Yeah,
So the flame is
stationary and constant velocity are the same, where there's no net forces on anything. So, yeah, if it's either stationary, it would look like that all the time if we were stationary, or if we were moving at a constant velocity, it would look like that.
Exactly.
The fact is it will detect acceleration and stretch in the same direction as the acceleration, not just the motion, acceleration.
Exactly.
not being pushed in any direction and thus turns into a sphere, showing that there isn't a force present. The compression of air in the container is only present when connected to the earth, pushing the flame up, showing that the force of the earth is also up.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Showing that the force is up. It's not if it was a constant up, then you wouldn't see the flame going up like that.
You can't
Right,
have
there would be no
acceleration.
force. Force is acceleration, not force is motion.
And he even
You
showed.
can have something in motion at a constant velocity and that you won't see any forces. You have to have acceleration to know that there's a force.
Exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there for a minute.
No, you're good.
I'm trying to get better about that.
Without a force, and you can't have a force without any reaction of the flame. So again, like you guys can see, the compression of air when holding it, which is the one on the left on Earth, shows that it's in the upwards trajectory. It shows that the vector is up. Again, the compression of air is only present when there is a force present. The air cannot compress itself. That's ridiculous. That's retarded. So stationary flat earthers will claim that the air density and buoyancy create themselves. So they literally.
It's
So,
crazy how. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying it's crazy how many times they say, the only times you can detect an acceleration is with a force, or you can only see the flame stretching with a force, with a force, with a force, and don't, in any other direction that force is an acceleration, except for when it's on the ground, and then it's a constant velocity. There's a force with constant velocity. Like I can't get over that. Like the contradictories. They say them all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's surprising that how many times they say force and how they don't seem to understand their own words coming out of their mouth and call us like we're divisive. Like, what? I don't even understand how that's being divisive. We're using our brains. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Like, aren't we supposed to be having like open dialogue about this? Isn't this supposed to be the point of being out here is to talk to other people who do think instead of just going to talk to people who are fresh out of high school and maybe don't even understand fully what they're still just learning the basics, let alone able to comprehend and like debate or have like any kind of a productive conversation about what the possibilities are and hold them to the things that they're saying. And I only posted this part about um, just to tie in with the other stuff with sorry, there's like a shark in the background here. It's just a little um but the chill alert. I saw this posted. I forget who posted it. Sorry, my bad. I didn't shout out who I got this from, but the fact that it says, it has all these channels that to me are like, big time chill channels, Um all of them are very suspect and they all push the same things and they all, anybody that's going to agree that the TFE isn't questionable to me is on their payroll, and it's behind a paywall. So of course, that's suspect in itself. Like I remember what Jaren saying years and years ago that like he would never put his content behind a paywall, that truth is free, truth is supposed to be free, and oh, how times have changed, you know? Um,
Right.
but yeah. This is how I put the shark in here because this is how it feels after we get listen to other people talking about us and whatever. Um, Either way, I'm glad that we had this talk, and I think that there's a lot of things that need to be addressed, and I don't know if they're willing to address it or not, but I'm glad that we're putting our opinions out there because that's what real truthers actually do. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? Or that
uh,
we forgot?
no, I think we covered everything. I'm going to make another video or some demonstrations with about Dell's claim of the reference frame, accelerated reference frames, and show demonstrations of how he's completely wrong and what he's claiming there with an accelerated reference frame being able to move inside of a accelerated reference frame. So look forward to that.
Awesome. And I'll link your channel since now I know for a long time you had all your videos on unlisted. So I'm glad that you finally took some off of unlisted and started posting them on your channel. So I'll post a link in the description to your channel. So if anybody wants to go check out all the stuff you've already posted and um yeah, y'all have a good day, evening, wherever you're at. Toodles.